Hello again, everyone. Today we're going to be making a wooden sword. So basically what we're going to be doing is making a wooden katana. And I've made several of these for friends of mine who do things like cosplays or just to go with costumes or any of that kind of thing. They're also great for people who want to have a sword to either play with or look at, but don't want to either invest or just have a real sword. This is a great alternative, light, cheap, easy. So that's what we're going to be doing today, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So I have this piece here. It has already been cut from a previous project, and I just trimmed it down to 3 feet, which is what we're using for the base for our katana. Now what I have to do with it is plane it down, because what's happening is this is obviously too thick for a katana. So what we're going to do is cut this almost in half, trim it down right to about there so we get the right thickness for a believable katana. And that's what we'll be doing over on the table saw. So our table saw is set up with the jig in place, the guide, and always remember, measure 3 times before you cut anything, because once it's cut, it's done. So now we're just going to turn it on. We're going to cut the wood down to the proper thickness that I already have preset, which is almost cutting this in half. And then we're going to move on to the shaping. There, now that we have the boards cut to the proper thickness, we're going to go over, trace them out, and start cutting. So what we have now is we have our piece that has been cut down to the proper thickness. We have our blank, which I have made out of cardboard. This thing has been used quite a bit. It's a good size, and I kind of cheated when I made it. I own a katana, a metal one, so I just traced the blade for it out and cut it out of cardboard, and then just added the handle. It's worked quite well. If you don't have, obviously, a katana at home already, something to trace, then I'm sure you could go online, find dimensions, and just plan it out that way. But all we're going to do now is just put this on, and then just make sure that we have enough room on all the edges. And then we're just going to trace it out on here. And then after we have it traced out, we're just going to go right over to the saw and cut it out to the proper thickness. So I'll probably speed the rest of this up. There, now we have it traced out. That's what it is there. We're going to take it over to the saw and just cut it out. There. Now we have the blank done for the katana. we're going to just give it a quick sand down. So we're just going to take a little bit of sandpaper and just go along. So this is another piece, obviously much thinner, but this is a harder wood, and we will be using this for the guard, or it's probably called a tsuba, and we will also be using this for the handle, which I will show you after we finish making the guard. So now we are just going to make a tsuba. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually using an old paint spray can lid, and I'm just going to use that to make a nice circle on here that we will then cut out later. So the whole point is to just make a nice simple guard. Most were circular, which is nice because circular is a very easy thing to work with. So now we will cut it off there, drill out the center, work our way across, and then this whole thing will just slide right onto the katana handle, and I'll show you that after you help me cut it out. So there's our circular tsuba, and now I'm just going to take it over to the sander and just clean up the edges just a little bit. There, now we have our nice round piece. Now we just have to drill out the center there. And now I have the center marked out. I have a drill bit that is as close to the thickness of the handle as I can get. That's important because that will mean a lot less work trying to get this to fit up over the handle. So now what we're going to do is try to drill it out and work our way around so that this will slide just right up over the handle, and then it'll be held in place by the two side panels we'll be adding later. Now we have that drilled out, we are going to go back to the saw and cut out the proper square shape, if you can see it there. Okay, so now we're just going to remove the blade out of this, put it in through that, so that we can have a nice square hole cut without having to cut in from the edge. And that is where these saws are one of the most useful tools. So now we're just going to shape the square insert. So now we have a nice square hole that we can use to push our handle through. Now that we have our tsuba and our sword, we simply take the end of the handle, put it in the hole, and slide it all the way up to the end, just like that. And now we have a katana with a guard. So now all we have to do to finish building it is to put the plates on the handle to hold the guard in place. So I have traced out the handle twice onto this piece of wood. So now we're just going to cut them out. This is the same piece of wood that we made the tsuba from. It's a little harder than the wood that we use to make the sword, and that's because this will be the part that will get most of the handling and wear. So I always like to make those parts a little more durable just to increase the lifespan of whatever I'm making. So now we just cut this out. Also, remember to always cut your pieces just a slight bit bigger than what the trace lines are, because once you sand them, they will go down a little bit. Also, if you need to reshape later, it's always easier to take off something than it is to try to add back on or just start again if you've taken too much off. So, word to the wise, always give yourself some leeway room. So, now that we have the handle panels cut out, we have the tsuba and we have the sword itself. All that's left to do is glue it together. And again, I have used a lot of power tools in this episode. All of these things can be done by hand. It will just take a little bit longer. So now we're back. The glue has been given plenty of time to dry. And as you can see, the plates are around essentially the tang for the sword itself. We have them on each side. And the way it's positioned is they hold the tsuba very tightly in place. I can't even wiggle it now. Similar to how a real katana does it, although instead of pegs, we use glue because it's easier. You could do pegs if you wanted to. This is just a very simple, easy way to do it that makes it a little more secure but less deconstructible. So now what we're going to do is, you can see it has those ridges and the excess there. That's okay, because now we're going to take this over to the sander. We're going to take off all that excess there and make this a nice, comfortable handle. And we're also going to put an edge on the blade. There, now that we have it all ground down and sanded, we're done with the basic construction of it. You see we have our edge there. If the light would show you, there you go. We have our edge ground. The handle here, you can see the cores. I think this turned out really well. Now, the only thing left to do is, if you wanted to, you could paint it. You may not want to, that's perfectly fine. This looks really cool, just as a wooden sword, but I'm going to paint it. I'm not going to show that because most people know how to paint. So now we have it all painted. And this is what it looks like all finished. As you can see, I just used a silver type paint for the blade, and I think it works fairly well for making a realistic steel color. The handle is just black, and you can wrap that if you wish. I'll probably wrap it in a blue. I think that would look good. I also did a little gold paint on the edge of the tsuba and right at the base of the sword, because most katana have that bronze, brass, or copper clip there to hold everything. So I just added one with paint. And I think overall it looks pretty good. I'm really proud of how it came out. And there you go. Wooden sword that realistically, from a distance, is very hard to differentiate.